Hi guys, welcome to the next section, Day 4, discussing C# class member. In this section, we will look at modifiers. We will also see abstract and static. Next, we will discuss about methods and properties. Further, we will move to indexers and file I/O. After that, we look at exception handling. And finally, we will discuss regular expression and its importance. Now, we move on to the first video of this section that deals with modifiers. In this video, we're going to take a look at access modifier and accessibility levels. We will also see different modifier, that is public, protected, internal, composite, and private. We will also see rules for static modifier. Modifiers are nothing but special keywords in C# that are used to declare how a specific method, property, or variable could be accessible. Access modifiers tell us how and where a member, declared type, and so on can be accessed or available. First, we will look at the public modifier. A public modifier helps us define the scope of the member without any restrictions. This means if we define any class, method, property, or variable with a public access modifier, the member can be accessed without any restrictions for other members. To understand unrestricted accessibility levels, let's look at the code example. First, we will add the internal class string calculator. Next, we will add lines of code to the main method. In the internal class, we declared two properties, num1 and num2, and one method sum with the access modifier public. This means these properties and the method is accessible to other classes as well. As you can see, we get the access of the method in the main class as well. Let's run the code. The code will run perfectly and produce the expected results. It will ask you to enter the first number and then the second number. As you can see, it results in the sum of the numbers specified. A protected modifier helps us define the scope of the member without the class or type defined or created from the class where the member is defined. In other words, when we define the variable, property, or method with the access modifier protected, this means the scope of availability of these are within the class in which all these members are defined. To understand protected accessibility levels, let's look at the code example. As you can see, we've added public class string calculator. Here, the properties are defined with the protected access modifier. Now, we add another public class string calculator implementation, which is inherited from string calculator. The protected properties are only accessible either from the string calculator class or string calculator implementation class. In the main method, we create an object variable for the string calculator implementation. We finally call the sum method. Let's run the code. It will ask you to enter the two numbers. As you can see, it will result their sum. An internal modifier helps us define the scope of the member for the same assembly. Members that are defined using internal access modifiers cannot access outside of the assembly where they are defined. Now, we will see composite modifier. When we use protected and internal access modifier jointly, protected internal this combination of modifiers, known as composite modifier. To understand protected internal accessibility levels, let's do a dummy code example. The code is for assembly day 4 with a class string calculator implement, that is, the inherited string calculator class. Last modifier is private. A private modifier is the lowest scope of the member. This means whenever a member is defined using the private modifier, that member is only accessible within the class where it is defined. To understand private accessibility levels, let's see the dummy code example. In this code, properties num1 and num2 are not accessible to outside the string calculator class. The code will throw a compile time error as in this screenshot. Now, there are certain rules we should follow while working with these access modifiers. First rule is combination restriction. A restriction is there while using an access modifier. These modifiers should not be used in combination unless you are using access modifiers protected internal. Next rule is namespace restriction. These access modifiers should not be used with namespace. Default accessibility restriction. When or if a member is declared without an access modifier, then default accessibility is used. All classes are implicitly internal, and its members are private. Another rule is top-level type restriction. Top-level types are parent types that have immediate parent type objects. Parent or top-level types cannot use any accessibility other than internal or public accessibility. If no access modifier is applied, default accessibility will be internal. Last rule is nested type restriction. Nested types are those that are members of other types or have immediate parent types other than universal types, that is, an object. In this video, we looked at modifiers.